Hello and welcome to this primary election debate for Republican candidates from Arizona's Congressional District 6. This debate is sponsored by Clean Elections, the state's nonpartisan voter education agency. My name is Jim Ninsel and I'll be moderating this discussion. The format will be a little different tonight. We're hosting a 30-minute one-on-one since only one candidate is participating. The incumbent, Congressman Juan Ciscomani, has not accepted our invitation to participate in tonight's discussion. The way we're sharing this debate is part of a brand new effort to support democracy in Arizona. Thanks to a partnership with the Clean Elections Commission and the Arizona Media Association, we're working to make sure these 2024 debates are the most accessible in Arizona history. This means this conversation, and dozens more between now and November, will air on a long list of local TV stations, radio stations, and digital platforms, including support from local newspapers. It's a shared effort among hundreds of local media brands across Arizona. Transparency is critical here. That's why these debates have been designed with input from a broad group of journalists in Arizona representing urban and rural communities. Thank you to voters across Arizona who have submitted questions for this debate. We reviewed all of them to make sure every voice is heard. However, no candidates have been given advance access to any of the questions. With that, let's introduce our Republican candidate, Kathleen Winn. Welcome, and thank you for being here. You have 2 minutes for an opening statement.
Thank you. I'm prepared to honor hardworking Arizona voters by being exactly who they elect me to be, a conservative Republican. I am a fierce defender of American values, conservative priorities, and the fundamental liberties that our founding fathers felt were so important. I won't sell out for optics, and I won't participate in political theater. The establishment needs to end its reign in Congress. I am one of you. I am a wife, a mother, a grandmother, successful businesswoman, an advocate for children. I want to serve the people of Southern Arizona in CD6, not the elite. The stakes are high, and the ideologies between me and my opponent are great. We need representatives who will stand strong and make hard choices. Shut down the government until the border is secure. Reduce spending and the facilitation of illegal immigration that is out of control. I'm Kathleen Winn, running against Juan Ciscomani because we need to return to conservative values for God and for country, as our founding fathers intended.
Kathleen Winn, this is your second run for Congress in this Southern Arizona district. In the primary last time, you got about 19% of the vote, while your opponent, Juan Ciscomani, got about 47%. Now that he's served a term, why do you think the voters should change their minds and support you this time?
Juan Ciscomani ran last time as a conservative Republican, but his voting record has him be a bipartisan moderate, which he proudly has been touting. He is not representing as a conservative Republican and votes more with the Democrats than he does with the Republicans. Also, last time there were 5 people in the race, and if you add up the 3 conservatives, if we were one person, we would have beat Juan Ciscomani. I firmly believe that this district is a conservative district, that the Biden policies have failed so miserably that people want to restore order, make our district safe, but make the state safe and make the country safe. Juan Ciscomani has not had the political will to shut down the border, to stop spending, and he put other countries, Ukraine, ahead of securing the border. I think as he's been voting, I've heard more and more from people in the district who are unsatisfied with the work that he's doing. And so I think it's time for us to have an opportunity to fight back and to do the things that really matter to the people that live in this district.
Can you point to a specific bit of legislation where you would have voted differently from Congressman Ciscomani?
Yes. So there's many different things. One of the things that Congressman Ciscomani did was he did not restore jobs and benefits for pilots who refused the COVID vaccine. I would have voted for that. It's one thing to say I'm going to secure the border, but it's another thing to take actions in a correlate with that. Recently, the omnibus bill that was just recently passed, Congress has a slight majority, the Republicans do. Before they gave one nickel to Ukraine, they could have put something in to secure the border. I would have made sure that before we spent any more foreign dollars, that I would have done that.
Last week, former President Trump was convicted of 34 felonies in a New York courtroom. What was your reaction to that?
I watched the trial. I believe that this is a political persecution. I don't believe they changed so many rules so that they could prosecute him. I believe that he will appeal it. I believe it'll be overturned. I think this is an attack, an electioneering, and it is one party attacking the lead person who's actually winning in the polls. And I think the American people see that based on the amount of money President Trump has received and based on the outpouring of support for him.
You know, what was your reaction to President Biden's announcement this week that he would limit the number of people who were able to claim asylum when they cross the border into the United States?
I think it's President Biden's comments this week are a little too late. I think we have 10 million people in our country and we don't know who they are. We have over 165 countries. We are still funding the illegal immigration that's pouring into Arizona. And because of what Texas has done, Arizona is now the tip of the spear. We have more crime and more people coming in every day. And how do we trust people when we don't even know who's in our country? So I would say that his words are cheap.
The federal government has been giving aid to Pima County in order to support Casas Alitas, which is a program that helps the asylum seekers who have crossed the border and been released from Border Patrol custody to move on to their next destination. Do you support the federal funding for the Casa Alitas program?
I do not support the federal funding at this time for any of the programs that are receiving money. What we are doing is we are incentivizing people to come from all over the world. We are giving them benefits for breaking our laws, and we are using our resources and depleting our resources in our country to support illegal immigration. We don't know who's here. We don't know from where they've come. We don't know if they're really even asylum seekers, and their court dates are 10 years out. This is a travesty that's happening, and I think it is intentional and willful, and it should be stopped.
There are roughly 580,000 people who are brought to the United States as children who are in the DACA program. Should these folks be given a path to citizenship or some kind of permanent legal status, or should they be deported to their country of origin?
There are over 120,000 missing illegal immigrant children right now. I wish that we really cared about the children that are coming to our country. I think it is, again, a mistake to think that we are doing anything good by these children. Children are being raped, children are being mutilated, children are being drugged, and then we say that we care about these children. What we need to do is secure our border and make sure that we know who's coming in our country, identify who's here now, and I believe that we should deport people. Children should not be unaccompanied coming into our country, and the other thing that we have happening is children are being born every day with drug addictions, and their parents are being put in jail. And so we now have all these babies that are here that now get citizenship because they're born in America. We have a mess, and it needs to be corrected.
So for the Dreamers, you're saying...
The Dreamers that were here prior to this, that's a different group of people, but to declare someone a dreamer just because they've crossed the border, I think that you have to reset these policies, because we are, again, incentivizing millions and millions of people coming here that we cannot continue and sustain. Our cities can't take it. We don't have the resources. Why is the federal government subsidizing these people? Why are they allowing to come into our communities? They're murdering our citizens. They're replacing our citizens. Over 200 people a day are dying from fentanyl poisoning. At what point do we say this is a terrorist act and it needs to stop?
So the folks in the DACA program, though, the ones who have now registered with the government, the Dreamers, your thought of their, how should we resolve their status?
I'm not against the Dreamers. That, you know, there's been Dreamers here in this country for a very long time. They've gotten many benefits. There's programs. The question becomes, When did we open the floodgates to come into this country, and how do we take care of them? And are they really asylum seekers? I don't think we know who's here. I want to help everybody that we can possibly help, but we don't have the resources, and at some point we cannot be the place where everyone in the world comes to solve their problems. I want to help everybody. I spent 4 years on a governing board, and we helped many DACA students. I'm proud of that work. You want to build good quality people, but I'm not so confident that it's prisons and thugs that are coming into our country and not innocent children.
What about the wall? Do you think the United States should build a wall along the entirety of the U.S.-Mexico border?
I think that we can have many walls. In terms of a physical barrier, I think they help deter people coming across. But we have drones, we have electronics. There's places that we can't build the wall. The Tohono O'odham Nation in our own state creates a funneling effect because they own that land, I believe, on both sides of the border. So we can be smart, but we have to do a better job of protecting our border. We do not have operational control of our border right now. The Sinaloa cartel has operational control, and without a border, you really don't have a country. So whatever we need to do to reclaim that land and to shut down the criminal enterprises that are operating in our state and killing our citizens, we need to do that. That is the highest priority that this Congress should have right now.
I want to shift away from immigration to abortion, and let me ask you, would you support a national ban on abortion? If so, at what stage of pregnancy?
As we know, the United States Supreme Court remanded this back to the states when Roe v. Wade was overturned. I believe that the states should be making this decision. We already had this federal ban, or we already had this in the federal courts, and I trust that the U.S. Supreme Court is the best place to resolve this. You know, what they did to remand it back to the states, that each individual state has state rights. The federal government, I do not want involved in our medical decisions and our medical choices.
Today, Republicans in the Senate blocked a bill that would have prevented states from passing laws limiting access to contraception. Do you think that should be a federal law to allow, to require states to allow access to contraception?
I don't, again, I think the states need to determine what they want to do. I don't like the idea of federal funds being used to facilitate abortion, or federal funds being used to facilitate birth control. There are many other ways that people can get access to that, and every time you involve the federal government, you create a bigger government, you create bloat. Our government is out of control, and we don't even understand where most of the money that we're spending is going. So to add another layer to federal government over this issue, I think is a big mistake.
Let's talk about some of the federal entitlement programs. What strategies would you pursue to preserve Social Security for future generations?
Social Security is a big problem. I am now eligible for Social Security. I'm not taking it yet. I believe that Social Security is in serious need of an overhaul. That does not mean we want to end it, but in 11 years, we will not have enough money to fund the people that will be eligible for it. So there's some hard choices that are going to have to be made. Be very clear, I do not want to end Social Security, but we have to find a way to continue to fund it. In 11 years, we will have to reduce the amount that people receive to 83% unless we do something now. And Congress has a way of kicking the can down the road, and so that's why we have to address this issue now. But I support Social Security for the hardworking Americans that have paid into it their whole lives.
So what do we need to do in order to preserve the program?
I think we need to make sure that we're not giving Social Security to people that are dead, that aren't entitled to it, that are not part of the system, and that we also have to, you know, the cost of living and everything else, there's a lot of adjustments. There's a lot of abuse in Social Security, so again, it's an accountability. There's a lot of work that Congress needs to do to examine where things are going and what's happening. Social Security is something that if you have been working your whole life, and I did, you were promised this. I don't think we can break our promises to the American people, but we're going to have to make sure that our funding source and that how it's being set up is sustainable.
Should we reduce benefits for people, younger people in their 20s or 30s?
You know, that could be on the table to reduce benefits, but I don't think that that's the immediate solution that we go to. I really believe that we need to make sure that people are working, that they're paying their taxes, that they're paying their Social Security benefits, and that we have accountability. I want to make sure that if you work hard and you reach a certain age, you get the entitlement that you are promised.
Should we move to allowing people to deposit a portion of their Social Security into the stock market or other investments?
I think when you start to pick winners and losers in government, I'm really against government subsidies. I think that it creates a lot of problems and it creates a lot of corruption. We've seen it with the COVID shots. We saw it when we picked out certain pharmaceutical companies. I believe that that is not a good way to go.
What about Medicare? Same question. How do we preserve that for future generations? That seems to be in more financial trouble than Social Security.
There's a lot of Medicare abuses. There's Medicare fraud. I worked at the Attorney General's office. We had a whole division for Medicare frauds and Medicaid fraud. I think, again, what people, I'm eligible for Medicare. I'm on Medicare right now. But the quality of doctors and what is happening in the medical system, Obamacare was a disaster. And Donald Trump put some corrections in that made a big difference, but still not enough. There was still more work to be done, and I believe Medicare, we need to have some kind of system to support people, especially as they age. But right now, you have lack of accountability, you have money being spent, you have money going to people that really shouldn't be receiving it, and we keep expanding those programs. And we have over 10 million illegal immigrants in this country, and there's abuses in every program that we have. And the government has to start to make some hard decisions about who really gets things and who doesn't. We are not Santa Claus to the world.
What about eliminating traditional Medicare and allowing private insurance companies to take care of the elderly?
I think the only way you can allow private insurance companies to take care of the elderly is if you do it on a proposal basis, and it would have to have strict oversight. I don't think you just allow the insurance. I think part of the reason we're here is that insurance companies kind of abused the system and pushed for Obamacare, and it was a big payout to insurance companies.
Yeah, you mentioned some criticism with Obamacare, and the Republican Study Committee has proposed doing away with the Affordable Care Act in its entirety. I wonder, one of the elements of that is the fact that insurance companies are required to offer plans to people with pre-existing conditions. Would you support doing away with those protections for people with pre-existing conditions?
No, I think if people have pre-existing conditions and they've gone through the steps that they need to do, we need to protect people that have those. You can't start to kill off people that have certain medical conditions. I think we have to be humane, and we have to do everything we can to preserve people's lives. At the end of the day, the insurance industry should not be making extreme profits at the expense of Americans' health and their welfare.
And what do you think about the exchanges that were created through Obamacare to allow people to purchase insurance without having an employer provide it for them?
The exchanges are expensive. I had there was a time when I didn't have insurance and had to wait to get, Medicare, and it's very expensive. And we call it the Affordable Care Act. There's nothing affordable about it. It's very unaffordable, and especially with inflation right now, people are forgoing having insurance so they can put food on their family's table. So if we're going to do these insurance I'm sorry, I forgot the word, but these networks for people to have insurance, I think it's important that we make it affordable and we make it so people can come together, maybe if they're individuals, and buy as a group, even though they may not be an organized group.
And by way of making it affordable, would that be providing government subsidies or regulating what insurance companies can charge, or what would be?
I think I would like to see a regulation on what on caps on what people can charge. But again, I would tell you that to jump into the insurance world and seeing what's happening with medical cases, one of the reasons that costs got driven up is that people were suing their doctors every time something went wrong, and you had these huge settlements. And so you've got a medical industry right now that has been weakened through COVID and the healthcare system in and of itself.
You know, let's switch to international issues. Congress recently passed a $61 billion military aid package for Ukraine as it attempts to thwart the ongoing Russian invasion. You brought this up earlier. Would you have supported that package?
I would not have supported the package to Ukraine without securing our border. We had an opportunity to do something for the United States of America before we put Ukraine first. We put Ukraine and Ukraine's needs ahead of the people of the United States of America. So I would have probably not done as much for Ukraine. We've been providing munitions. We have been in this war. The really sad thing is that so many Ukrainian men and women who are serving in the military have passed away. Have been the death rate for the Ukraine people in the military is extremely high. We don't hear about it anymore. We keep saying we want to fund it, and Russia is clearly winning that conflict. And neither Russia or Ukraine are allies, and China has come in to help Russia. So I feel it's a proxy war that we should really take a step back and see, is the best advice to continue to fund it or to try to negotiate some kind of agreement between Ukraine and Russia. We did not sign on to do this infinitely. So I think it's important that we look to see what can we do to resolve this. And there was a great opportunity for the U.S. to put our border first, to put our citizens first, and we didn't do that.
That military aid package also included $26 billion in aid to Israel and about $1 billion in humanitarian relief for the Palestinians in Gaza. Would you have supported that package?
I believe that Israel is an ally, and that Israel has been one of our longest-standing allies, and that what happened on October 7 was an act of war by Hamas. And Hamas, after they did that, then when Israel fought back to preserve and save their country, then they said, oh, they wanted it to stop. When you annihilate innocent people, women and children, and people that had no idea what it was coming, there was no declaration of war, but by that very action, they did. And I think that we as Americans needed to stand with Israel. They've been a longtime ally. They support us. And I thought that that aid, and they've told us that they don't even ask for our aid. We are standing with them. The Palestinians who are voted for Hamas to be this government entity are now paying the price for those choices. And it is sad, the whole situation. Any time when your conflicts have to be solved by warfare, it is not it's not good for the humanity and for the people of those countries.
We've got about a minute left. Let me ask you, do you believe that the Earth is experiencing climate change, and do you agree with the Biden administration's efforts to counter it through green energy strategy?
It's getting hot in Arizona right now, and I believe that we have climates that change. I believe that we have different things. To throw money into trying to regulate it or have special programs, I am not a supporter of that. I believe that we have so much government waste. If a particular area, there's a lot of tornadoes in Chicago where I grew up, there's many different weather patterns and things that happen. We've got computers, I think we can solve a lot of problems without investing billions of dollars into climate change.
One more question, because we have a little bit of time, about half a minute remaining. Actually, I think we're to closing statement. So if you would, you have 1 minute for a closing statement here.
Thank you. I'm running for Congress because we need intelligent leadership in Congress. This is a critical time in our history. I don't think anyone, if you had asked 4 years ago, would the borders be wide open? Would we have 10 million people in our country that we didn't know were going to be here, and that we would be funding wars all over the world, that we would have said that that was a good idea? We need serious-minded people who are not politically driven, but want to serve the people. I believe that I am best suited for this job at this time, and that's why I'm running for Congress in CD6. I would ask you to go to Win for Arizona, WINN for Arizona, and check out our page, and also to let you know that Arizona needs a win. I'm Kathleen Winn, running for Congress in Arizona CD6, and I respectfully ask for your vote. Thank you.
We do have time for one more brief question.
Okay.
Do you believe President Biden won Arizona in 2020?
I believe that that the election in 2020 had some serious flaws. We had people that voted twice in both New Mexico and Arizona and the Navajo Nation. We had other things that were not normal. That being said, I did an analysis, and Mark Kelly got the most votes out of everyone, 80,000 more than his Democrat delegation, and 50,000 more than Joe Biden. And if you believe that happened, then Joe Biden won.
All right, well, that is all the time we have for our one-on-one conversation with Kathleen Winn. Thank you for joining us today. She is the Republican candidate for Arizona's Congressional 6. As a reminder, the Arizona primary election is on July 30, and early voting starts on July 3rd. All registered voters can participate in the primary, including independents. There are a lot of offices up for election this year, so we'll keep hosting debates through the summer and fall. Head to arizonamedia.org to see a list of every local media partner, plus upcoming debates and where you can find them on TV, radio, and digital platforms. You can also see the full debate schedule, learn more about clean elections, and submit questions for future debates by heading to azcleanelections.gov. On behalf of our partners at Clean Elections, the Arizona Media Association, Reister, and Bitfire Studios, thanks for watching.